In this video, you will get an introduction to locomotive stations, how to build things and what to build, and once ready, how to traffic it.
Hello and welcome to another video tutorial. And welcome back after summer. Yeah, it's model railroading is going down during the summer period, and I want to especially thank, if you're a patron, I want to thank you for staying with me over the summer period. More people have stayed over the summer period and continue to support the channel than the previous years, which is awesome, because then I come into the autumn and winter now, and I'm able to buy new batteries and microphones or whatever I need for the production. So that's awesome, really. This tutorial we're gonna do today is about locomotive stations, or engine depot, as you guys in the US say, or Betriebswerk in Germany. So I will be covering a bit on what you can include and what you need to include in such installation. We will be looking at my tiny installation here, because I don't have too much space, but it's well, I have the more important parts, I think, and we will also be looking at track work for kind of small-sized and medium-sized installations. Then there are massive size installations available as well. But okay, when I visit friends, who has really nice, you just watch your locomotive station is just awesome, and then you run some trains there and they stop. So, because the track is dirty. I say, you never run trains here. I say, no, it's a lot of tracks, and I don't run too much trains in locomotive stations. But we're gonna do that in this tutorial, because I think one of the better parts with a locomotive station is all the options for traffic, goods traffic. You want coal in and diesel in and scrap and ash, etc. out. So we will be looking at that last, and we will also be modeling some cargoes for this operation. But we're starting out by having a look at my installation.
We're here on the way up to the locomotive station on my layout. Here we're trailing a BR-24, it's a German steamer. The first stop for us will be the point where we hand over the locomotive to the yard crew. At this point we find a small shed where the driver and the locomotive crew can exchange some information about the locomotive, but also a place to hide from rain and snow. The first stop for the locomotive crew, which takes the locomotive to the next stop, is a combined water filling and ash pits. They're removing the ash from the train. This is somewhat time consuming, so there is also a passing track for locomotives, both going out, exiting, departing from the locomotive station, but also incoming locomotives. With that action completed, we progress to the coaling station. In some locomotive yards, the coal filling and water is first, but here on my layout it's the third stop. The coal filling is rather quick, even though I have a small facility for this here. And then after that the locomotive stops also for sand filling. Our BR-24 is assigned to a free track in the locomotive shed. And as it's being parked, another locomotive exits the shed. This is a BR-43 ready for duty. I don't have a real prototype for my engine yard or locomotive station, so I've been using a set from Faller. This piece here is a 120149 and it's water cranes, 2 of them, water horses as we call them in my area, and also a crane for ash removal. Building a locomotive station items from plastic kit is pretty straightforward and they look good. I think after weathering, the assembly of plastic kits has been previously covered in earlier videos, but I will show you a bit on how I paint rusty items like this water horse. I mix cavalry brown with burnt umber, and then I have a torn sponge. This is a piece of a washing sponge, and then I dab on so I get a texture in the paint surface. Then I use a dry pastel chalk powder and I apply that using a makeup sponge into the wet paint. That gives a very rust-like and textured surface. You see here, its result is very nice. So that's how all of these things are painted. I wanted also to add LEDs, illumination to these lanterns. I think that it's a nice eye catcher. So I have used these tiny LEDs. These are 0603 size, so they're not super tiny, but they're tiny. I fixed them using fast set glue, and then I hide the copper wires by painting them with burnt umber, same color I used for the crane itself. So like that. And if needed, I can also fix the cables with, yeah, it works. Yeah, great. And it's just one thing remaining, and that is to paint the actual LED a bit with the red acrylic paint, same I has painted the lantern with. And then drill holes for the cables going out. You typically don't want all that much light out of these LEDs, so I have a series resistor of 10 kilo ohms to reduce forward current and light output. And then I glue it in place using the Faller expat glue, and this is what it looks like in the dark. Included in the same kit is a ash pit, and it also has support for 3-rail system like I'm using. The wires coming out here is power feed to the track, but also a sensor. I use one of the rails I electrically isolated to sensor that this locomotive have arrived. Locomotive stations are also filled with scrap, both inside the shed and outside. These scraps can be made in a lot of ways. One is to make tubings. The tubings I make from cotton swabs. The cotton swabs in my area has plastic tubing. This plastic tubing can also be bought on the internet, but then you had to buy a lot more. I'm using the same colors for rust as I did for the water horse, cavalry brown and burnt umber. And again, I paint this using a piece of sponge. And then I dab on with that dry pastel chalk powder using a makeup applicator. And this is the final result. I can have a bit of those scraps everywhere. This type of corroded scraps can also be made from leftovers from plastic kits or whatever you find in your household. Let's now have a look at the trackwork for this locomotive station. This is a small yard with arrival and departure track. Like this, then we'll place the water somewhere in the start, as well as the coal with a loading track for the coal and the ash pit with a bypass track above. And then, of course, the shed down to the right and a loading track for replacement parts and outgoing scrap. And of course the departure track. There will also be a waiting track where locomotives can wait going in or out. Let's have a look at the bigger yard. This is what I call a medium yard. We have arrival from the left and departure also to the left but also to the right, so this is a through yard. We have the water and coal at the incoming plus a loading track. We have the ash pit with a passing track and of course the shed. It's typically a roundhouse if you have a turntable like this. Then you can have also an assistant train track where a help train can be placed, and 2 waiting tracks for in or outgoing locomotives. Now, if you do not intend to have steamers but just run some diesels on your layout, then the turntable and the roundhouse has a fueling station in front of it instead. It could anyway be nice to have a turntable like this because it gives you a lot of options for exiting that area in a number of different directions. You can also solve it like this. Here is just 2 fueling tracks. One of the track can be used as a loading track as well, so this covers what you need if you run diesels. I think one of the more enjoyable aspects of having a locomotive station like this is the option it leaves you with for operations and sessions transporting. Like here I'm transporting 1 car with diesel up to the diesel depot, the fuel in place. Here's another possible cargo. Of course it's coal for the coaling station, and as I said earlier, the work in the roundhouse leaves you with a lot of scrap. So a few cargoes with scrap. I've previously shown how to build cargoes in a cargo modeling marathon. I think I modeled 9 different type of cargoes. I'm putting up a link to that tutorial if you're interested. In this video we will model another cargo, and that is the ash, which is used to empty the ash pit. So this material is balsa, 6mm balsa. I cut it to the width of the car and also the length of the car. Cut several times before cut through to avoid cracking. Fits, so it fits, yeah, it's great. And then we need standoffs. So the cargo, we don't have to fill the entire car with the cargo. And the actual surface is made from MIG asphalt. This is a thick, black textured acrylic paste which contains tons of pigment, black pigment, so you don't have to paint your balsa ahead of applying this MIG asphalt. And I make small bumps here and there, and then I use my dry chalk pastel. Grind some powder off when that asphalt is properly dry, and then I add white as well on top. Then with a slightly wetted brush I work this powder into the asphalt, and the end result is something looking a whole lot like ash. Then it's just to insert your cargo. If you like, you can add also stains of the cargo on the sides of the car. I think this is nice. I do this for every new cargo I put into the cars, and it helps the car to marry the cargo it's carrying. I don't do any protective coat on top of this, so it will eventually wear off when you're handling the car.
All right, so that was a a short introduction to locomotive stations. I hope you found some information here you could use to bring your creations to the next level, or if you already have a locomotive station, to get more traffic in and out to avoid those dirty tracks. If you liked the video, please help others to find it by giving it a thumbs up. If you have questions, post them in the comment field below this video and I'll try to respond to that as soon as possible. Did you know that this channel is made possible because a few of you viewers are supporting the channel? So if you want to be one of the good guys, get over to Patreon, set up a support account there from like, $1 per month, because the YouTube ads algorithm doesn't really work that well for niche interest as this. So if you want the continuation of the media on this channel, please be one of the kind patrons and support me to continue doing this work. I love it. I love model railroading, and I think more people should know what an awesome hobby it is. And don't forget to subscribe and enable the little bell, and you will get a notification once next video gets published. Until that happens, see you.